We have Spencer Gunnell here joining us for Grove TV. Thanks for joining us, Spencer. First of all, we're in a bit of an uncertain time at the moment in the second national lockdown. First of all, how are you coping with it all at the moment? Obviously, we made a good start to the season. Now it's been brought to a halt. What's your overall findings of the situation at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's in different situations. I've been quite lucky in that I've been able to go to work, do my normal job. So that's kept me busy. I'm quite active in my normal job. I think for a lot of the lads, it's frustration, but at the same time, I think we're old enough and wise enough to appreciate the bigger picture. I think the disappointing thing for us is how good a start we've made. And that's now been put on hold, given all the hard work that went into pre-season. And we just feel this sort of the way it ended was a little bit flat, but at the same time, we've been able to regroup. I've had a few little knocks in the group. Everyone's got fitter again. And hopefully we're ready to go again when the time's right.
Yeah, definitely. With obviously the news over the past couple of days, obviously fans are allowed back in stadiums, but only at Tier 2. Stoke's been announced into Tier 3. Have you had, as the players, any information regarding what's going to be happening with fans? Because before the season was actually suspended again, we were having fans. We were having very big crowds. We hit a maximum capacity of 400 against Leek. We're hitting 200, 300 in a number of the games. And that must have been a massive boost for yourself. If the possibility of there were no fans now, how much of an effect would that have?
Yeah, I mean, pre-season, obviously, we were no fans anyway. So we were used to playing behind closed doors. And then obviously we've had a few really good crowds, and just the noise that the home fans make anyway in terms of their loyalty and commitment to the club. It is a massive boost for the lads, especially when you're winning. We've been in lots of favourable positions recently where fans have got behind us, and it's spurred us on. In terms of what's going to happen in terms of tier systems, announcements have been made at step 5 and step 6. I'm sure that we'll hear ours accordingly. There's no point trying to second guess it because you've only got to look at what's happened with the recent announcements in the tiered system. We would obviously love for fans to be there. We know how loyal and committed the fans are to Kidsgrove, and they're a massive boost to us. But at the same time, if we've got to play behind closed doors, we've still got a job to do. So,
At the level that you do play at, obviously step 4 in the division that we're currently in, with only getting a couple of hundred every week, how much does it mean to boost you forward? And is it a big contribution to how well you have done so far this season? Because it has been a magnificent start, both cup-wise in terms of the FA Trophy and league-wise as well.
yeah, non-league football's about fans. That's what it's there for. It's a community club, and members of the community give up their time, give up their money, and they come and cheer us on. And they're entitled to their opinions. And a lot of the fans who spoke to us as players, they're really pleased with the start that we've made, and obviously we've got to continue that. We'll continue to do our bit, and as soon as fans are allowed in, obviously it's then their enjoyment to come and watch. I understand their frustrations, but at the same time, if the league does carry on, we've got our job to do. But the fans make a massive difference. Whether there's 5, 10, 200, 300 there, they've all got a voice between them, and it's a massive boost for lads. It really, really is.
Yeah, definitely. So on the season so far, like I said, we made an amazing start. I believe it was 17 points in the opening 10 games or so. We'd sat fourth on the table, got to the first round of the FA Trophy for around 15 years. How do you evaluate the start to the season? What can you pick out? What stands out to you the most?
I think just the morale and the mentality of the lads straight from pre-season. Obviously, there's been lots of change at the club in terms of managerial roles, players in and out. But it was very evident in the first few sessions that we'd got a real good mix of players in terms of experience. And I think that's been the biggest key, is that the younger lads have gelled with the older ones, and the older ones have been able to guide the young players through and get them to lose that naivety straight away that happens in men's football. A couple of standouts, we've obviously got the Cambridge game away, the character and the desire shown. But the ability to bounce back from a loss. We're in a league where anybody can beat anybody. We've made a fantastic start. Almost too well in some ways, because I think we needed to lose at some point to actually kick us on a little bit more, which is, an odd cliche in football, but sometimes you need to lose in order to become more successful. And I think it's the way that we've bounced back from that. And then obviously we've been now put back into this lockdown 2, if we call it season 2. But I know that how hard the lads have worked from pre-season, that the lads will have been making the most out of the time in lockdown, because there's no way that they will put all of that effort to waste.
Yeah, definitely. You said about obviously bouncing back from a loss. You lost the first game of the season in the FA Cup, which would have been a disappointment because obviously every club around our level wants a nice little FA Cup one. Was that game when in a game which you could have won? I remember it was hitting the bar twice. We had a number of opportunities, just one of those that didn't go away. Was that a little bit of a wake up call going into the league season? It was that one of those where obviously it was against your former team, Chasetown as well. Was it one of those like right, we played well, but now we've got to put our chances away and go forward and learn this into the league?
Absolutely. I mean, everybody wants a good cup run. It's good for the club. It's good for the players. It's good for the fans. We'd had a really, really good pre-season. We'd had a couple of really tough tests, and we felt really good going into the game. And it's probably the first game of the whole of the season so far where we've really not played to anywhere near our true potential. Whether it was because of the emotion of the occasion with lots of, ex-rivalries, local club, ex-players, ex-manager, etc. But at the same time, I don't think we were precise and ruthless enough in the final third, and we weren't clinical enough defensively. So as much as a draw would have been fair, you've got to take your chances on the day. We've taken our chances very well since then, but I still think it's an area that we can obviously improve upon. And you've only got to look at other teams' goal difference where, they're scoring 5-6 goals in a game, and, we're keeping our clean sheets and we're scoring and we're winning. But at the same time, I think that margin could be stretched. And with that, it becomes a bit more of a comfort within the game. You can express yourself a bit more. And those players who might be lacking confidence can go and show that a bit more.
You said about a little bit about rivalry there with Chasetown. A couple of weeks later, we go to Chasetown and get a recall. I mean, in my opinion, one of the best victories of the season away. Chasetown 3-1, and with Anthony Malbon obviously getting a hat trick that day and claiming his 150th goal for the club as well. How was that occasion? Obviously, going back to Chasetown, I believe that will be the first time for you, obviously since your injury. How was that for you? And a lot of the other boys who were from Chasetown as well. So that one would have meant a lot to them.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, Chasetown did a lot for my football, and I appreciate the club. I've got a lot of fond memories from the club, even in my short time there. But at the same time, as footballers, you understand that you've got a job to do, and I think a lot of the lads felt that they were so far from their best on the day in the FA Cup that they had a reason to go and show everybody what we were about. And Scott's always built winning teams and that mentality, and that you've got to win your personal battles, and then you get down on the ball and play. And I think straight from the first minute, it was evident in that game which team wanted it more, and it showed eventually with bits of class and bits of precision. Malbs takes any chance that he has. It's very rare he doesn't hit the target, and obviously a massive landmark for him. And he's a legend of the club, and rightly so. He deserved to get 3 in that game. But it was very much a team performance. And everybody felt that they had a point to prove, and therefore went out there with that mentality. And I think that was the real stepping stone, really, from that game, was that we turned a defeat against a club that's going to compete at the end of the day in our league into, right, we've got to put things right. We then go out and do it. And that was the catalyst moving forward, really.
One of the most notable things from the whole team this season is the partnership that you formed with Josh Thorpe at centre back. What can you tell us about the relationship that you formed? Because on the pitch, it looks absolute perfect. You're both different qualities, I say, seem to combine really well together.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we're both new to the club. I've not known Josh before, but he's coming straight in, and it's evident to see the winning mentality and the desire and aggression that he shows. And it's an absolute dream to play alongside. He'll go up and he'll win 10 things out of 10. And he's starting to be a lot more confident in terms of communicating on the pitch, in terms of his positional awareness. And so it's really a case of we both trust each other. We'll be in and around on the cover where possible, but we're also supported by fullbacks in Bergs and with Will and with Ricky when he comes in. Having an outlet as a winger, as a defensive winger who can get forward in the speed at which we can, it takes so much pressure off Josh and myself to be able to then organise the rest of the team in and around us.
And then when Josh has been out of action a little bit, which it has been the case, obviously it's a massive schedule. When you were playing, it was Saturday, Tuesday, and that will be the same again due to this cutback in fixtures. But when Josh has been injured and you've been on the pitch, Will Wheeldon's also fitted in at centre-back, another player that you'll know from your time at Chasetown. He is traditionally actually someone who sits in behind the striker in attacking midfield role. what's the versatility? How important is like the versatility with him, and how well of a job does he do when he comes in and slips into that centre back role? Obviously, usually playing in the centre of a three. When obviously we did revert to that in with games such as League Town, springs to mind.
Yeah, obviously, I know Will's quality from Chasetown. Will can play anywhere down the spine of the pitch, and he can even play wide if needed. The thing with Will is he's an exceptionally fit lad. He really, really understands the game as well, and therefore he knows what balls to go and win. He knows when to press. He knows when to hold off. But at the same time, he's also got that range of pass that takes so much pressure off you. And ultimately, if you've got the ball, you've not got to defend. And often, when Will's in at centre half, we do keep the ball as a team, and therefore there's less pressure on. But like Scott said before, we've got 18, 19, 20 players. It's going to be a squad season. There's going to be times where players need a breather. There's going to be times when players are going to have to play out of position. And we've already shown that once in the Stratford game. So, we've got to be confident as a group of lads that we've got the right squad to go and compete in the top teams in this league.
And it's clear that obviously you're an experienced member of the squad. We've got younger players. I spoke to Jack Bromfield before a couple of weeks ago in episode 2 on the influence of the other experienced members in the squad. Obviously, you were captain at Chasetown. What is it like to have the leadership qualities, mixing that in with the youth players? Obviously, we've got a number of experienced players, but we've got a couple of youth players coming through as well. How important is that in a squad like Kisgrove?
Yeah, massively important. And that was the case right from the offset, was that the younger lads had come in. Obviously, they've got a point to prove. They're young lads. They're being put under a lot of pressure. But at the same time, as experienced lads, there's a lot of experienced lads around the team. You have obviously your Malbs, Sam Hall, etc. You've got players who've got plenty of games under their belt. And it's a case of very quickly getting them to understand the difference in the levels in which they've played at and how men's football is different. It's very, very much you've got to win your personal battles, you've got to rat around, you've got to hunt for everything. And then once you've got the ball, it's a case of showing that composure, but also that cutting edge. And I think that's the biggest difference with our young lads, is that they've come on and they've shown that they're willing to graft, they're willing to scrap. And at the same time, once they've won their personal battle, that quality is then shown going forwards.
And I just wanted to touch on the Stratford game, the game that got us through to the FA Cup trophy, which is a little bit of a history for the club. As a player, how proud does that make you, and how was that day as a whole? I think it's 2004 or 5 we haven't made it through to the first round, and in what's been a very complicated season, to say the least, that must be something that filled you with nothing more than joy.
Yeah, I think we took 13 fit players away. So yeah, it's always a tough ask to go there, especially to a team in the league that they're in and the position that they're in. But at the same time, it's got to be a case of almost who wants it the most. And those people who are willing to go above and beyond. I think 4 or 5 players played out of position. But it just shows the strength and depth that we've got as a squad, that people are willing to put their positional differences aside, put on that Kisgrove shirt and go and graft as hard as they can. I think the biggest thing for that game is we were clinical. The chances that we had, we took, and we were, defensively very, very disciplined, and several players had very, very strong games.
And the final few from me, we've only lost one league this season. It's fair to say, with you in defence alongside the likes of Josh, and then you've got Will Byes as well, Ricky Bridge, when he comes in, as you mentioned, we've got a fantastic defensive record. And the only loss, we did unfortunately concede 5 goals, and it did kind of come out of nowhere. We looked quite comfortable in the first half, and I've spoke to the managers, the management staff, and I've spoke to the players, and they were unsure how it all happened. Can you give us a little bit of an insight into that game and how important it was to bounce back straight from that going forward, because we're on fantastic form after that? It was a bit of a wake-up call, that one as well.
Yeah, very much so, a wake-up call. It appeared in the first sort of 30, 40 minutes that we had enough chances to be 2 or 3 ahead. And they're the fine margins in football, is that if you don't take your chances and you give away the silly errors and individual mistakes that we made, we were punished for it. But it does seem as if the individual errors all came in one game. And as a squad, you look at it and you go, if they're going to happen in one game and that's the one game they happen in, you'll take it. Obviously, nobody wants to lose, but teams are built on how you react when things go against you. And, in that game, there weren't, too many disappointing performances, a few individual errors and mistakes in the final third in terms of precision and ruthlessness. And so I think a lot of that's been brushed aside in the way that we've reacted. And then obviously we're now back into that lockdown series too. So I'm confident the lads can come out of it with the same attitude, the same mentality. They've been working hard, doing the programmes that have been written for us. And the lads will want to make sure that they don't throw away the positive start that we've made to the season.
And from that game, what was Scott Dundas's message, the manager, obviously going forward? Because it seems like you haven't halted at all since that moment. What was kind of his message coming out of that game, and what reasons can you come back for this fantastic comeback that you've had before obviously the lockdown came in?
Yeah, I mean, Scott's got the same message as the players. They understand that on the day, anybody can beat anybody if you're not on your game. And for small parts of that game, we weren't on it, and we simply got punished for it. I don't think Scott was too harsh on the lads, other than the fact that we've got to make sure that when we take those chances, we're clinical as a team. It's not just it's not a striker, it's not just midfield. It's whoever gets their chances as a team, because we're going to defend as a team. We've got to attack as a team. And therefore, whoever gets the chances has got to be clinical and at least hit the target and, work the opposition keeper. But I think at the same time, the lads understand the belief that's been instilled by the manager in the players that sometimes when things go against you, you put that to one side, you show your resilience, you play for the shirt, you play for the badge, and you work your socks off. And from that, I think it gave a lot of the lads a lot of a confidence boost in the fact that you look at the players around you. We've got players who are coming on to make a difference rather than making subs for the sake of making subs. And when you go away to teams and you go a couple of goals down, you're able to pull the game back. It shows the strength of character in the lads. And I think that's probably been the biggest motivation moving forward and why we've been successful, is that belief that within the squad, goals can happen straight away.
Yeah, definitely. And now we're edging closer to the first game, I believe we're being on the 8th in the FA Trophy, and then we're back in to league action with another tough Christmas schedule. We've been in great form. How difficult will it be to bounce back after not playing for so long, having limited training sessions? Of course, obviously, you've been sticking to your programs, but how difficult of a job as a leader as you are will it be for you to maybe encourage lads or the squad as a whole to bounce back and kick off where we were?
Yeah, I think those who are in a position of leadership can, dish it out to the lads where they're not pulling their weight. But at the same time, it's got to be positive. We've not played for a long period of time, but that doesn't knock anyone's self-belief, because we were able to do it before lockdown. We'll be able to do it again. I would argue that most of the lads are just as fit from going through this lockdown period because of the positive start they had. What more motivation do you need in the lockdown period to stay fit, to know that, win your games in hand, you can sit top of the league. Obviously, it's going to be a busy period and we're going to have to, rotate around the squad. But I think that self-belief and that motivation is going to get us through the couple of games where we might, make silly errors, but at the same time, we'll make sure we don't make them in the right areas. In the wrong areas, and we make sure we're clinical in the right ones.
And the last one for me, you've been at the club, joined, let's say, coming back from your injury, joining Scott Dundas again. How have you settled into the club? From an outsider's point of view, it seems like you're really enjoying your time here. What kind of insight can you give us into that? How have you find the first couple of months, 3-4 months?
Yeah, I mean, having 18 months out of the game is not ideal. It was a really long road to recovery, and I was disappointed in the way that I provisionally retired, in the fact that I retired through injury rather than through playing. And so delighted to have got back to the point where, I'm as fit as I've ever been. I feel as strong as I've ever been. And with that, I've got to make sure that I manage, my own rehab personally. I'm not at that age anymore where I can play 3 or 4 games in a week. And so I've got to look after myself, as well as I've got to look after the club, because, selfishly, I'm not going to go and play if there's people who are more deserving of my place, if I'm going to carry on or not, because it's, it's a team game. And that's the mentality that we've got to have, is that no player is bigger than the club. In terms of playing for Scott, it's, everyone knows how successful he's been. He builds winning sides. He instills that mentality and that confidence for you to go and play in the right areas and play the right way. And it can't come as a surprise, the promising start that we've had, because all of the lads have bought into the ethos that he's brought in, along with him and Bucko. So it's been a collective management drive towards the players, and the players have bought into that, and it's reaping its rewards.
Thank you for your time, Spence.